What impact do you see from current and new regulations, proposed tariffs? We have the changes in FDA and NIH. How does that impact M&A and valuations from an investment in the life sciences?
Well, I'll start with the majority of the politics of don't have a direct impact on our market, but there are some things that have come up at the FDA, the NIH, and with tariffs that will, and it will affect different companies very differently. So let me kind of go through those tariffs. In our world, we tend to invest in smaller companies that are more domestic oriented. It's probably going to be a positive as this is more of a threat to somebody who doesn't have a presence in the U.S. and their need to some extent stay out of the headlines, another extent to get ready for sort of a new, call it tax regime around the globe. And so setting up a facility in the U.S. or acquiring a U.S.-based company might be a quick way to solve that problem. So I think there's a benefit on the smaller side. The bigger companies have spent years building their infrastructure and their supply chains overseas, and those are tough decisions now to figure out whether this is temporary or they need to rethink that. So we're definitely seeing the impact in big dollars in the bigger companies, but in terms of the majority of companies, it could be a positive for U.S. business. Within with the NIH, the interesting thing is definitely the budget is, you just can't expect it to be growth. It's become a less relevant part of the market. If you look at their growth has been less than the overall growth of the market, and therefore it's become a smaller share of total demand, if you will, but it's still the biggest single customer. So always relevant, but maybe over time though, I think it's pretty clear that it's going to be hard to rely on that as a growth source for companies in our space. Still $40 billion is a lot of money no matter how you look at it, but from the second order effects, it's potentially going to be shrinking. The two things, that there are, new administration comes new priorities, and so we're definitely seeing things that are focused in vaccines or mRNA as being a lot of headwinds, right? Just being able to tell their story in the face of what other headlines are, or raising capital in those areas. That's tough. But there's a whole new area, which I'm happy to talk about, which is the rethinking of animal data and non-animal assay data being submitted as part of clinical trials. That's probably the catalyst that market needed, was to get a government position, a sort of regulatory position on it. And I forgot the last part you had asked me about.
Oh, the FDA in terms of.
Yeah, the FDA's commitment, the words are that they want to see more drugs approved, less of a regulatory impediments, focuses on advanced therapies like cell and gene therapy. These are exactly the words you would want to hear if you're investing in this space. Those are the growth areas, and there's clearly the most innovation is happening in those areas. But at the same time, the same companies who are making those are concerned about other issues with respect to drug pricing and most favored nations issues, which don't affect typically the smaller companies, but go back to my three pillars of the market. The wealthiest, oftentimes some of the the most sort of companies that are very profitable are having other attacks that are likely to trickle down. But our assumption is that's not ultimately a threat. I mean, that's something they can handle. Having an FDA that is kind of on board with getting advanced therapies through the pipeline, that's great news.